Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Mobile App Academy, where we show you how to build and configure mobile apps live on the Now platform. My name, as always, is Charlie Steiner, product marketer here at ServiceNow on the mobile team. And today we'll actually be switching gears a little bit from our more recent Academy sessions on Now Mobile and switching to a quick start guide for Mobile Agent. So if you're joining us for the first time today, welcome. I'd like to introduce you to Mobile App Academy, which is a live building series that focuses on managing and building out mobile apps in real time. We have product experts on hand to provide guidance, best practices, and answer any of your questions in the chat. We host these sessions every 2 weeks here at Zoom on 10 a.m. Pacific, and our recordings are posted to our YouTube playlist Thursday morning Pacific time as well. And that link to the YouTube playlist will be found in the chat shortly. And as we always do, we'd love to just walk you through a few resources for those of you who are new to mobile or new to our App Academy series. We have a plethora of resources available on our Now Mobile and Mobile Agent community page. And you can find awesome things like guidebooks and white papers, tons of articles that are posted by our team and partners and customers. So do be sure to check them out. And if you are brand new to mobile, we do recommend you check out the mobile training on Now Learning, as well as our previous playlist, or our playlist of previous App Academy sessions, where you can find things like deploying Now Mobile, getting started with mobile card builder and user experience analytics, and our more recent sessions on actionable push notifications and notifications in general, as well as configuring deep linking. So do be sure to check out that playlist, as there's a lot of great stuff in there that we highly encourage all of our customers to check out. And one more thing to note before we get into today's session is if you like this session, if you like this style of academy, our sister teams around ServiceNow also host very similar academies for virtual agent, for HR, for performance analytics, as well as Platform Foundation, which is a developer-focused academy, and these academies can all be found in their respective forums. You can navigate there by clicking on the Forums tab and going to their forum. One final thing to note is if you did not get a chance to join us for our webinar, and if you've not seen it yet, our webinar on what's new in Rome was aired about a month ago in October. So we just want to give you one last friendly reminder that if you have not seen this, and if this is something that interests you, do please check this out. It is live and on demand. That link will be put in the chat shortly. With all that said, let's get into today's session with David Ha and Mark Hopper on a quick start guide for Mobile Agent. David?
Awesome. Thanks for the intro, Charlie. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Mobile App Academy. My name is David Ha, and I'll be your host for today. I also have Mark Hopper, who's our Director of Outbound on the Emerging Interfaces team here at ServiceNow, and we want to give a warm welcome to everyone joining us live. And for today's topic, like Charlie said, this is going to be a really great quick start guide for folks new to mobile. We're going to show you how you can get started with your ServiceNow agent app. And this session will be a quick start guide to launching that agent app. We'll take an out-of-the-box agent workflow, we'll modify it, customize our applets, update some actions, take advantage of some pre-existing workflows like approvals, pretty common use case, and something you'll probably likely run into when getting started with your agent implementations. Okay, and just to quickly review, for today's schedule, this will be about a 45-minute session. We'll take it to the top of the hour. We'll start off with a quick 5-minute overview, our goals for today, what we will implement and how to get started. And then we'll jump into the exercise. We'll cover some basics on what it's like to modify an out-of-the-box app for agent, and then show you some tips and tricks along the way. And then we'll open up to some Q&A afterwards. Okay. If you're looking for some more hands-on training, I definitely would recommend that you check out our Now Learning site. We have a course called Mobile Developer Fundamentals, and some of our earlier app academies, which you can find both on mobile community. These are great resources that you can use to get started on your agent implementations. It's slightly different than implementing Now Mobile, right? For mobile agent, you can use Mobile Studio to configure all your workflows. And we have lots of great training on that, which you can find on our community site. Charlie can throw a link in the chat, so definitely check those out if you haven't already. One other announcement before we get started. Today is our last live topic App Academy for the year. If you haven't already noticed, this year we spent a large focus on Now Mobile topics, but as we transition into 2022, we'll be shifting some of our focus onto mobile agent implementations. The first half of the year, we'll continue covering topics on Quebec instances, where a majority of our customers are currently on. So we'll mostly use Mobile Studio to configure the agent workflows. And then for the remainder of 2022, as more customers upgrade to Roam, we'll start shifting our learnings into Mobile App Builder and how we can take advantage of that new developer tool as well. That's something you can learn more about in the Roam webinar, as Charlie has mentioned earlier. But with that being said, the next few academies for the remaining of the year will be reruns of some of our most popular app academies. We will still have mobile gurus to help answer questions, so you can definitely still use that time as an opportunity to ask those questions. But we're going to use some of this downtime to prepare for our launch of academies on ServiceNow Agent and then Roam implementations as we jump into 2022. Okay. With all of that said, let's quickly dive into the overview. So our goal for today is to talk about how we can deploy the ITSM mobile agent app to support our IT technicians and fulfillers. And this can be applied across any department, right? For HR, for customer service management, whatever it is. But we're going to use ITSM as our exercise for today. And we're going to show you, some basic configurations so that you can pilot your first initial rollout of the agent app. Your goal may be to just roll out a very simple mobile app that aligns with some of the things that your agents can already do today on their platform or desktop experience. And our out-of-the-box apps or experiences might already provide you with 90% of your requirements. There may just be a few adjustments or things you want to configure before you roll out that ITSM mobile agent app. So we're going to focus on what some of those common configurations are from what we've heard from other customers. And that will be for the goal for today's session. Here are some things that you might want to consider or think about as you start deploying your mobile agent workflows. First is, which personas are you trying to enable? You can think of the ITSM agent client itself as an empty container, right? So until you've downloaded one of our out-of-the-box app plugins like ITSM Mobile Agent or Field Service Mobile or Customer Service Mobile Agent, that will actually provide you with the data and visualizations so that your client can present you with that data. With that in mind, if you're trying to enable your fulfillers, which line of business are you trying to enable first? Is it for your ITSM technicians? Is it for your field service agents that are out in the field? Or is it HR help desk? But once you've decided on your priority, it's likely that we will have an out-of-the-box experience that you can leverage as a starting point. Some of these workflows are pre-existing, some you can find through our ServiceNow store, and some are completely new that we released in just Roam, right? Depending on what you're looking for, there's more information for each of these experiences found in our product documentation. But the goal here is, find out which one of these out-of-the-box experiences aligns with what you need, and then to figure out, what it offers out of the box, map out all the use cases that you need for your technicians and fulfillers, and then also, take note of the gaps of what out of the box doesn't address, because then you can use our developer tools like Mobile Studio to fill in those gaps. So it's all about, what are the reports, actions, and fields that your fulfillers need the most to get their work done on mobile. And then we'll use one of the out-of-the-box workflows as a starting point, and then we'll use Mobile Studio to configure those remaining gaps. Okay. And for today's session, we're going to use the ITSM fulfiller as an example. We're going to deploy the ServiceNow agent to all of our ITSM technicians so that they can quickly access their approvals, access KBs when they're out in the field, and access other related work like major incidents. So this is your out-of-the-box experience for ITSM technicians, ITSM mobile, sorry. The ITSM team has worked closely with our ITSM customers to build a baseline experience that they felt users would need the most for mobile. It's not about trying to reach parity between your mobile and desktop experiences. It's really about highlighting those unique use cases, or what we like to call mobile micro moments, that your end users would need the most from an ITSM mobile persona, and only exposing those most important use cases, right? So out of the box, your ITSM mobile agent already exposes major incidents at risk, breach incidents, change tasks, catalog tasks, and so on. But there might be a few other use cases that are important to you for your ITSM fulfiller teams. And those are the use cases that we need to build or expose. Things like approvals for your ITSM managers, or maybe exposing knowledge for your agents who are out in the field. And the great thing about having all these different out-of-the-box experiences available to you is there's many times where you don't have to build things from scratch because there's already an out-of-the-box app for it. The mobile approval workflow is something that the Now Mobile team has already built on their employee service delivery plugin. That might be something that you can just reuse and expose it in your ITSM agent tab. It's been an ask that we've had from some customers before, and that out of the box app works great. So we'll just reuse that in our own ITSM workflow. And then for knowledge, that's something that another team has already built as well from field service. And so we're just going to create a copy of that workflow, and then we're going to put it into our ITSM mobile scope. So I'll definitely show you a few tricks on how you can borrow some of these pre-existing components so that you can kind of speed up your mobile development process. Other things I'll show today that might be helpful for new customers: we'll update a few fields on active instance. We'll rename a few things on our applet launchers and our applets. And then we're also going to get rid of anything that might not be relevant to us. We'll also make sure that search works, because that can be an important thing for your users, right? For instance, looking at KBs, if it already doesn't out of the box. And then last thing that we'll look at is we'll make sure that our technicians have access to the actions that they need, like create an instant or update instant. And then we'll create them from scratch, since we haven't done that in a while in one of our mobile academies. But this kind of just outlines all the use cases that I just mentioned. So let's go ahead and just jump into our exercise, and then get started. So let me reshare my screen here. Okay, so we're going to jump into our instance. I'm on Quebec instance. And the first thing I'm going to check for is I want to make sure that I have at least one out-of-the-box plugin installed on our instance. And since our main focus for today is ITSM Mobile, we're going to make sure that we have that plugin installed. Okay, so on our left-hand nav, we'll pull up the plugins table. This might take a second to load, since this instance does have a lot of things loaded in there. Okay, we'll give this a few seconds. But while this loads, maybe I can open up a new tab. And we can open up Studio while we wait for it. Okay, so here's our plugin list. So if you look at product docs, it'll tell you if you want the out-of-the-box ITSM mobile agent experience, you'll have to look up ITSM mobile agent. Okay. I've seen some questions on community where they've seen two plugins. This is the plugin that the ITSM team is continuing to invest in and update. This is a plugin that they created, I think, starting Paris instance or maybe Orlando, and they've continued to update that since. There was an older plugin that was built in Madrid. That was like 2 years ago. I think it's named very similarly too. I think it's called ITSM Agent. That is not the plugin that you want. And if you're building in that old plugin, you're probably going to want to start thinking about how to migrate over to this new plugin. So that's something I want to call out. But make sure that the plugin you're using is ITSM Mobile Agent. And this is a store plugin. So if you click on this, find in the store, you should be able to see that plugin here as well. Okay. So I already have it installed. So now, this will kind of populate the data that I have here for my out-of-the-box experience. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do here is, we'll start from high level and we'll kind of dive deeper. We'll start at the navigation tab level. The first thing I want to do is I want to rename this instant tab into home. And to do that, we'll just jump into Studio. Okay, it's going to ask you what scoped application you want. We'll jump into ITSM Mobile Agent. And then just to clean this left-hand nav a bit, you can click on this collapse all. And the tables that I want are under Mobile Studio. Okay. So from top down, you have your application menu, which decides which client you're trying to build inside of, agent or now mobile. You have the applets, which are all the different reports or visualizations like list, form, map, so forth. You have the applet launchers, which are basically like landing pages, right? And you can configure how these landing pages look like. And these pages contain your applets, right? Your data items populate your applets. This is the data and conditions that you can apply for your applets. Dashboards, we don't care about. Actions allow us to create actions. To create a function, it's a two-part step, right? You create the action item, and then you populate the function, whether it's a write back, a smart button, or a navigation. And then you have your policies and styles. Okay, so to configure our navigation tab, we're going to start at the application menu level. We'll open up mobile agent, since this is the client that I'm in. And here I can see all the different navigation tabs that I have. And this will, depending on which plugins you installed, your navigation tabs will be different than what's shown here. I think I have installed both ITSM agent and field service. All my field service stuff is currently inactive. So that's the reason why you're not seeing any of those tabs. The only two tabs I have active right now is this out of the box one for instance, and then one for my teams. And I think this tab also comes along with that plugin. Okay, so if I wanted to rename instance, I would open up the instance navigation tab. And then it's pulling the label, and that's how it names this tab. So if I just wanted to rename this to home, I can do that really quick. I'll pull down to refresh, and then you'll see it at home. Okay. You can also change the icon if you want, right? I'll use an out of the box icon. Well, I'm sure there's a home icon here somewhere. We'll update that, and then we can refresh. And now it's been updated to home. Okay. What else should I do here? So this My Teams tab might not be relevant to me. This does come out of the box, but if you don't have any use for it, you can totally disable it too. And you can do that by staying in the application menu. I scroll down and open up My Teams. There's this active field. So if I just set this to inactive and update that, it should disappear. I'll go down and refresh, and then it'll disappear. Okay. So the only tabs I now have is my settings, notification, my saved, which is like favorites. This was a feature that came in, I believe, Quebec. And then the home tab, which is where most of my technicians will work inside of. Okay. So another thing that we've covered in past academies is, if you want to create like a banner or some sort of campaigns, so that it kind of helps with branding or helps explain what this landing page is, you can do that. I'm not going to cover it in today's session because I think we've done like 2 or 3 academies on how to configure banners and campaigns already. But definitely check out that playlist if you want to learn how. The next thing is, we're going to continue cleaning up this landing page. I'm only going to expose the things that I feel like my IT technicians need. I have currently my active instance, right? I have other work, instance at risk, breach, change task, urgent instance. I think this one this isn't available out of the box. This is a custom one that I built, but this is kind of repetitive, right? Urgent instance. This is probably the same as my instance. If I only want to show the most important instance, like P1s and P2s, I can easily just change the data item on this and apply an additional condition to it. So instead of having 2 similar applets, I'm just going to remove this urgent instance off of this landing page. So to do that, I'm going to open up this applet launcher because this applet launcher will contain this applet that I wanted to remove. So on our left-hand nav, we're going to expand applet launchers. And you're probably wondering, where is the home applet launcher, right? We only see my team and my work. I'm going to open up my work and I'll show you exactly why it's called, why you don't see the name for it. Okay, so I know that urgent instance is located under other work. This is a UI section, right? And if I just want to remove it, I'll just bring it back over, right? So now I should only have 4. So if I click save here, and then I do a refresh, it should disappear. Perfect. So I think for customers who are new to mobile, they're looking at these names and wondering why are these not matching up. For this applet launcher name, I'm going to show you the platform side. I'm going to go back to my instance and I'm going to open up applet launcher. And I believe this applet launcher is now called Home. No, it's called My Work from the ITSM scope. Okay. So this name applies to just the applet launcher itself. If you're wondering how you would change the name of this, that's what we did earlier, right? It's when we open up Mobile Agent and we change the navigation tab. So when we went into Home, and we changed this from, I believe, instance to home, this is actually the field that it's trying to update, not the applet launcher. So this is a common area of confusion that I see around community. So I just wanted to point that out. Your name of your applet launcher will never actually show up on your mobile app. This is just so that you can find this inside of Mobile Studio or the platform. It's the name of the record itself. Okay. Another thing that I want to show is, okay, so now we go into the applet level. Let's say I want to, modify some of these pre-existing reports. This might, I might find all of these reports useful, so I'll keep them in. But for my instance, I think this is currently showing all incidents across everything that's currently assigned to me. But maybe my technician, when they're working on mobile, the only ones they care about are the ones that are going to be due soon and are the most important. And so let's say that I wanted to apply an additional condition. I want to see only P1s and P2s. I don't care so much for the moderates and low priority work. To do that, we'll go back into Studio and we're going to expand applets. Okay. And the first thing you would probably want to do is you're looking for an applet called My Instance, right? The first thing I want to mention here is this is actually not the name of the applet. This is actually the name of your UI section. So when I say name of UI section, it's this, right? When we open up the My Work applet launcher, you have 3 UI sections: My Instance, Other Work, and On-Call Schedule, and it maps right here. If you wanted to rename it, you would rename it here. Okay. So let's say My Instance, my P1 instance. So I save that and then refresh. That should actually change the name. Okay. If I were to go into the applet itself, my instant. Okay. Another thing that's probably useful to know. I'm looking up my instance, and I don't currently see it in Studio. But I bet if I open up the data item, I'll be able to find it. So if I look up my instance, yep. So there's a my instant data item. So, okay, so this works, and I'm pretty sure this data item is the correct one. And I'll check on platform to show you that it is. What this means to me is this applet is probably using a feature that Mobile Studio doesn't support. It's likely using more than one segment on the list. What I mean by that is when I tap on See All, I have 2 segments here, a segment for open instance and a segment for resolved instance. This functionality of putting multiple segments on a list is not a feature that was supported on Studio. And because of that, this unsupported functionality, it just hides it completely from Studio. And so if you want to configure this out-of-the-box applet, you'll actually have to use the platform. It's not intuitive, but but this is kind of the first sign to me where it's not that the applet is gone. It's just not a supported applet inside of Studio. So this is the kind of stuff where as we evolve into Mobile App Builder, the new developer tool, these are some of the gaps that we're trying to solve with that new tool. You shouldn't be running into cases like this where the customer or the developer might not be aware of some of these nuances, right? So we want to build a more intuitive tool so that you don't have to run into these scenarios. But as of Quebec, Mobile Studio does help us configure a lot of things really quick. So we're going to continue using Mobile Studio. As we move into Rome, we'll definitely start publishing some more app academies on how Mobile App Builder will save you a lot of time and be more intuitive to use. Okay. So to configure this applet, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the platform UI. And I'm going to look up this applet called My Instance. So if on my left-hand nav, I'm going to look up applets. And we're going to look up My Instance. And there it is. Okay. So we're going to open this up. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to confirm that this data item for my instance is the correct data item. So I'm going to go, the data item is currently located on my open instance, right? So we're going to open up the open segment. This item stream is where your data items contain, right? And here it's currently consuming the my instance data. So I can confirm that this is the correct one. So if I only wanted to show P1 and P2 instance, I would just add an additional condition here. We'll add an and clause, and we'll set priority is one of critical and high. Okay, so we'll go and click save now. And now if I refresh this, I should only see my P1 and P2s. So the moderate incident has now disappeared. Okay, so this is just an example of how you can start with an out-of-the-box experience, use it as a template. If it has what you need, use it as a baseline, and then kind of just modify it as it meets your requirements for your fulfillers. So the next thing I want to show is
David. Quick question for you, because I think that that use case that you just walked through, right, where you were in Studio, but then to do kind of like just a little bit more, you had to jump into Platform UI. Mm-hmm. Does the mobile hierarchy, is that another tool that people should be leveraging and looking at in order to kind of navigate that?
Good point. So all this hierarchy and all the tables that I've kind of navigated through when I went from app launchers to applets, we actually have a great resource. If you go to mobile community, we have this PowerPoint called, if you look under content type to articles, we have a mobile hierarchy deck for Quebec, okay? And if you open up this PowerPoint, this will actually show you all the different tables and what they do for your mobile client. So I'll just show you a couple examples here. And this is super helpful for customers who are new to mobile. We start from the native clients and go all the way down to different screens, UI sections, and so forth. But if you want to know, what is a UI section, right? You have all these different types of UI sections and different capabilities. We map it to you on a screenshot so you know exactly what it controls. We were configuring or I was showing the segments earlier on a list, and it tells you exactly what it is, what it controls, right? The item stream is where your data item lives and what you can do with it. So definitely check that out. If you like, following along using a video, we also did cover a mobile hierarchy academy. If you go to YouTube and look up Mobile App Builder, Mobile App Academy. We have this playlist here. We have over 30 videos now. If you check out the full playlist and scroll down all the way to the bottom, we have this video on mobile hierarchy. So definitely check both of those resources out if you haven't already. Thanks for pointing that out, Mark.
Yeah, we had a question to post a link for the hierarchy into the chat, so I'm going to do that here for everybody.
Cool. Moving forward, so we changed the data item to show only P1 and P2 instance. So that's how you kind of modify an out-of-the-box applet. We've modified the navigation tab. Now, another thing that you might want to do is, how do I change the fields on these applets, right? I have a list screen. I have a form screen with all these different segments. And what if I wanted to change this field for company to something else? Or what if I wanted to add new fields? How would I do that? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this company field. Oops. And we're going to change it to another field for category. Show me what is the category of this thing that I'm trying to resolve. And to do that, we're going to start with Studio. Right. We're going to open up. Oh, actually, we can't use Studio, right? Because my instance doesn't show up here because of that limitation. So we're actually going to have to go to platform. And we'll start at the applet level. We'll open up my instance. You can see that there's two screens here, one for list, one for form. We're trying to update first the field on our list screen. So we'll open up the list screen. It's asking which segment do you want to configure first. So if I were to configure this field on the open segment, I would also have to do it here on the resolved segment. Okay, but this resolved segment does have different fields on it. So it really just depends on which field you're trying to configure. See how these two cards are slightly different, right? I'm just going to change the field for state on the open segment. So we'll jump into open segment. We'll go into the item stream, which just contains my data item. And then when we go to item configuration, this contains my card. This card helps us visualize which fields are displayed here. Before we released Mobile Card Builder, before you would actually have to go into the item view and have to configure the item view, which is pretty painful. But all I'm doing here is I'm just showing you what is the name of this item view. And then I'm actually going to use Mobile Card Builder to use it to configure the fields. If Mobile Card Builder is a new concept to you, we did cover a academy on this. This is a new feature that was released in Quebec. And it just helps build these cards and configure these cards so much easier. If you look at Mobile App Academy and then check out the full playlist, we have one on Mobile Card Builder. And in this academy, we show you how to build templates from scratch. If you don't want to use this template and want to use something else, or you don't want to use an out-of-the-box one, we'll show you how to build them from scratch. So definitely check out this video if you haven't already. So back to this use case. I'm going to open up a new tab, and I'm going to launch Mobile Card Builder. Okay. And inside of Mobile Card Builder, I just need to know what is the name of that card, this item view here. It's called My Instance Item View. So that's exactly what I'm going to look up. My instance. Sometimes if you can also use the application scope to help narrow your cards as well. You can select the scope and then the applet itself. And that's just if you have just a whole lot of cards to sort through, but easy enough for us, there's only two. If you watched our Mobile Card Builder Academy, you'll know that the form screen is called, or sorry, the list screen is called My Instance Item View, and the form screen is actually called something else. I don't know why I'm not seeing the form screen. Oh, actually, I think, let's actually check it out. So if I open up the header view, and then I change one of these fields, let's see what it updates. Let's change company to, let's change it to category. Okay. So if I save this, and then I do a refresh, let's see what it changed. So it looks like it didn't update company. What do I hear? Oh, it didn't change either of them. Okay, so maybe this is the wrong card. So let's go back to menu and open up my instance. Item view. Let's try this my instance item view, which I think is the correct one. Okay. If we open this up and then change the company label, the field to category, I think this should do it. Oops. Category. And then we'll save. So now if I do a pull down to refresh, oops, what happened? Okay. So I think what we can do is I can easily just take a screenshot of my mobile device updating as we do these configurations. I think that should work too. But let me show you what I have on my screen here. Let's see. So we've updated the category. Let me check my mobile device if it updated. State, progress, category. Oh, it also didn't update. Huh, that's weird. So let's see, did I save? Let's try another card. Let's see. If we change the scope to ITSM mobile, I should be able to see all my different applets here. The only applet I want is called My Instance. And here it is. And these are all the cards associated to this, which is a good sign. Pretty sure this is the one we want. So let's open this up again. Did it save correctly? Looks like it did. Okay. It might just be a My Instance issue, but these are the correct steps to update those. If you wanted to update your list and form screen, okay? If you wanted to update your form, right, you would just open up the card that's associated to the form. But I think we could probably move on to the next step. Another common configuration that we get all the time is, what if I wanted to show my approvals from my approvals for my IT managers, right? That's a pretty common ask that we get on community. And instead of trying to build this workflow from scratch, the Now Mobile team actually built the out-of-the-box approvals workflow for us. So let me share a screenshot of what that looks like. I will use Slack as my screen share. Okay. So if I open up Slack and then go to this. So here is the out-of-the-box Now Mobile app, right? And this is your out-of-the-box approvals work applet. It's called My Task. That's what they call it. If you open up this applet, it'll take you to show you all the approvals that you need to get done, right? And so this works exactly how I want it. All the approvals for my IT manager can use this exact same applet. So all I need to do is actually just reuse this from that Now Mobile scope. And I can do that using Platform UI. So what we're going to do first is we're going to find that applet called My Task. If we look up applets on our left-hand nav and open up applets and then look up My Task, I can see there's 3 different My Tasks, but I know it's the right one if it's in the Now Mobile scope, right? So I'm going to open this up here. So it's a list applet that's called my task. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Studio. Let's open up Studio. And let me show you on my mobile device what we're going to do. So I take a screenshot of this and then show you on Slack. Okay. So all we're going to do is we're going to take that my task applet and put it underneath other work. Okay. And then I should be able to access the approvals from my ITSM scope. So we're going to open up the ITSM scope again. And then we're going to launch the applet launcher for my work. I know that for the my work applet launcher, I want to put it underneath the other work UI section. So let's open up other work. Notice that all these applets are actually cross scope. If I hover over it, it'll tell you which scope it's currently in. These are all applets from the ITSM scopes, but I can also pull it my task from the now mobile scope too. If I hover here. So here's the correct one. If I bring this over, I'll bring it to the top and then save this. I should be able to now refresh my agent client. I'll take a screenshot and share with you what this looks like. Okay, let's pull up Slack. And there it is. So you can see that, you know, it was that easy for me to just reuse this workflow from the Now Mobile app. And if I tap into my task, it will take me to my task applet. And I can still, you know, I still have access to all the actions that's associated to this, right? So let me take a screenshot of this. I'm gonna approve this. And then you'll see that it disappeared. So let me take a couple screenshots. Give it a second to load. All right, so I open up the form screen to approve this approval, and then it disappeared from my list. So it worked. Okay, so that's how you reuse applets and, you know, actions from other out of the box apps. Another thing that I can show is this is probably the last configuration before we wrap up here. Another common ask we get is, what if my IT fulfillers want access to the KBs? You know, do I have to build that from scratch? The answer to that is no. The field service team has already built the knowledge workflow, which you can just reuse. So if we switch scopes, we switch scopes into field service, and then collapse all this and open up Mobile Studio. They have an applet called articles. Oh, this might be the case where you can't find it inside of Studio. So we'll actually have to do it on the platform. So we'll look up applets for article. Or did they call it something else? Let's look group by application and then open up field service. Oh, they have a lot. Pretty sure they have something called activity streams. Let's see, details, assets, contracts, details. Details, entitlements. Oh, knowledge, they call it knowledge. Here it is. Okay, so this is all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna reuse this applet called knowledge. And then I'm gonna pull it into my ITSM landing page. Okay, And I can actually do that in Studio. We'll go back into my ITSM scope. And we will create, we will open up the My Work applet launcher. Well, actually, they created, I'm looking at the field service mobile app. They actually created a whole navigation tab for this. And so I'm just going to expose the entire navigation tab. So if I go into application menu and open a mobile agent, I'm going to show you here. We'll create a new tab. It's currently pointing to the mobile agent client. I'm going to create a new tab. This tab is going to open up an applet launcher. And the app launcher that I want is going to be borrowed from field service to open up knowledge. Articles. I can give it an icon. And then we can name it whatever we want. So let's call it KB for simple. And we'll submit this. And then we'll give it, let's do 1,000. Submit. So now if I refresh my screen and then I take a couple screenshots, see how easy it was for me to just borrow the KB experience from field service and then populate it into my out-of-the-box ITSM mobile experience. Okay. And then similar to how we build any applet, you can also modify the conditions. So, if these are KB specific to your ITSM organization, you would just apply those conditions there to either the data item or however it was configured. Okay.
I think you're touching on some pretty interesting developer related questions. So a lot of our customers, there's a mix. Some of them develop and actually do these experiences, and you're showing how quickly you refresh it in the app in production. But if somebody was to follow this, in subprod or dev, like how would they move that experience over to production?
So if you're working on a developer instance, you can actually make update sets. We have an article on update sets on how to move your builds over to a production instance. I think there was an article called update sets somewhere. I think it was a really old article though. Let's see. And we actually covered it in a past academy on how to make update sets to migrate over. Update set. I can't find it at the moment, but what I can do is I'll find that article and I will put it in the essential trainings community. So I will do that for us. And I think it's super easy to follow along. And I'll make sure it gets posted here.
Awesome. If we can, I know we have an automated email that goes out also after that includes a survey. I'm not sure if it's possible we can add that link there, but we'll try to do that. And I'll also, before we close, quickly look and see if I can paste it into the chat. Other question was, so you've kind of done these experiences, using the ITSM mobile app. Can you use the ITSM mobile app as a template for other agent experiences, or we also have a number of other fulfiller apps that people could download. So let's say you wanted to repurpose this. One of the questions was for HR as an example.
What I would recommend is, of all of these out-of-the-box experiences, find the one that matches closely to what you need, and then use that as a baseline. So to answer your question, yes, you can use the ITSM agent experience if you wanted to use it for other tables. You would just have to update the data items if you kind of like that template. But of course, it would be much easier if you're trying to deploy a field service workflow, then you should just download the field service mobile app, right? That'll get you closer to what you need. But yeah, our platform is very flexible. All of our out-of-the-box components are also very flexible, and you can configure them to meet your needs. Cool.
There was one other question just around in the articles, limiting, how many are downloaded at a given time. That's a configurable experience on the employee side. So there was some similar questions around, is that preset or configurable on the agent side?
Oh, yes. So we borrowed that KB experience from the field service team, and that's totally configurable. I know on the Now Mobile team, they built it slightly different. It's a bit more difficult to configure, but definitely more flexible on the field service side. And if that's an experience that you want to see in the future, let us know in the post-session survey. That's definitely a topic that we can cover in the future.
I don't see any other questions.
Awesome. Then let's go ahead and wrap up. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Hopefully you found this session helpful. We had a couple things break up on us, but hopefully it was still easy to follow along. We're going to have a post-session survey. It's going to ask you, what are some topics you'd like for us to explore in the future? And we actually love getting feedback from all of you to make sure that our topics are relevant. So let us know in that survey what you want to see, and let us know if this session was helpful. If you're interested in any of our past mobile app academies, we do record these and upload them on YouTube, which you can also find on our mobile community site. So make sure to subscribe to our mobile community forum, register to this App Academy series so that you can get a notification on the latest updates. And again, last reminder, today's session is the last live build academy for the year as we ramp up for the holidays and 2022 planning. However, we will kick it off again at the beginning of next year. We have a whole lot more exciting topics for you around ServiceNow Agent, mobile app builder, Roam configurations, and we can't wait to share that with you. Until then, follow our mobile community site to get the latest dates and info. And we will be going live with some of our reruns of past academies, and our gurus will still be on to help answer questions live. So you can still use that as a resource. With all that said, thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you again in our rebroadcast in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone.